you're somebody trying to start a business, if you're thinking about getting into business, pay attention because today might be a good day for you.
In an entrepreneurial world, you are your own support system. You see an entrepreneur and you see, oh, they've made millions, they've done all this stuff, and I'm still working on all that. You don't see where they had their feet in the mud, that they had their nose down to the stone. That I know one guy specifically, I mean, he had a gun to his head, he was ready to pull the trigger. And he's like, hell, it's been too rough for me to do this. I can't keep going. We wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the good Lord in the community, that's for sure. How can you make yourself irreplaceable? And everybody's like, well, everybody's replaceable. In certain aspects, you're not. You got to find what you can thrive at with it. AI is going to come out no matter if we like it or not.
Oh my God, AI is crazy.
It's stupid.
It is.
It's stupid in a good way and a bad way, right? I mean, it's like everything. There's pros and cons to everything. What I love about the beer industry.
This is the moment we've all been waiting for. It's time! Presenting the champion of the world, WamBam Benamino!
Yo, it's your boy, it's Phil WamBam Benamino, and it's another WamBam Wednesday. You know, the show about ordinary people who've done extraordinary things. Today is no different. But as always, folks, the show is free. The only thing we ask is one thing. Click the subscribe button right down there. Subscribe, like it, share it, and give us some comments. We love feedback. We like to know what you think of it so we can continue to pump out the great content. All right. Today's guest, man, I have an entrepreneur. It's business. If you're a business person, if you're somebody trying to start a business, if you're thinking about getting into business, pay attention, turn the volume up because today might be a good day for you. I got legend here and coming, owns Freedom Mill and Freedom Mill Brew and Shine. Chase Wells in the house. Chase, how you doing, buddy?
I'm good, Phil. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Man, I appreciate you taking the time to come here and chop this up a little bit, man. I know your store has grown so much. You got so much going on in there, and I just can't wait to get into it and find out where your brain is operating, how you continue to come up with these ideas that help keep, scaling your business and stuff.
That could be a dangerous track to track down, for sure.
Well, you've had some really good success with it.
Thank you.
To tell the viewers real quick, Freedom Mill started out as just kind of a store, right? A retail store?
Yeah, a hardware store specifically. That's what we focused on. We bought an old feed mill, so we were selling feed and selling hardware, like a kind of like a small scale Home Depot, I guess you would say.
Yeah. Now, what got you into that? Tell a little bit of what made you say, hey, I want to open up a hardware store?
So I grew up, had animals my whole life. We had a farm. My family in Louisiana had a dairy farm their whole life. So had that big background. So the feed side wasn't very odd to us. Selling it was odd, though. We always were buying it, so it was nice to make money off of it instead of spending it. But then I grew up in high school, college specifically, managing hardware stores. Started in as a cashier, worked my way up, managed a hardware store down in Gainesville. And so we kind of worked off that with my family. So it's a family-owned business between my father-in-law, my two brother-in-laws, and my wife. And we're blessed by the good Lord to have what we have for sure.
Nice, nice. Well, I know the good Lord has something to do with your store because you are very Christian-oriented there.
Absolutely.
You got a lot of stuff there. And it actually was one of the first reasons how I actually ran into the store. I remember I was actually out shopping for a Bible. And, believe it or not, Walmart don't have Bibles.
That's very true.
You know what I'm saying? Some of the large businesses, like, where do you go? You can't buy one at a church. Obviously you can go online, but back in the day, that wasn't available. But your store had a whole section that's dedicated for that stuff.
Yeah,
and
we bought the Bible side out. It was actually a store going to close. The lady who owned it, she was an attorney, and she was selling it out because she was going back to, reactivate her law license and work at a practice. And so we saw it, and we're like, wait a minute, this is the last remaining Bible store in the remaining 4 counties around us. So we can't let it die out. So we bought it, moved it in, and it's been a great business for us, and it goes right along with us. If you see us, then hopefully you're seeing the love of Christ through everything he's done. So
amen to that. Amen to that. Well, now, the ironic thing when I walked in there, there was a lot more going on.
Yes.
I mean, you talk about a variety store, and this is maybe 11, 12 years now?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
So you know what? I kind of call it, I relate it to Buc-ee's. Buc-ee's is real big right now. All of a sudden, they're throwing these Buc-ee's up everywhere, but you're literally like Buc-ee's yourself. Like you were Buc-ee's before Buc-ee's even became out. Like you have everything in that store. You have from clothing to apparel to dog food to seeds to ice cream to arcades.
Yep.
They got axe throwing. You got gun range. You got a brewery. I mean, I know I'm losing something. You got laser tag. You got so many things going on there, and I'm sitting there going. And it's funny because you didn't just open up with everything. Right. You slowly started gradually adding one and one. What was that like? What made you do all this stuff?
Well, so we we realized that retail's everywhere. So if we're going to be in the retail market, then we've got to create an experience behind it. And we definitely didn't know that at first. We've, there's a thing you learn by your screw ups, and we've had our fair share of those. But with the retail side of it, we started off with the hardware side. We added the gun side of it. And we quickly started listening to what the community wanted. We're very rooted in the community. My father-in-law grew up in Forsyth County. I grew up in Hall County. My brother-in-law is between Forsyth and Hall. And so what we started listening is, hey, we want a restaurant and we want a gun range. So that was 2013. We bought the store. 2016, we really started putting the plans forward to make it happen. 17, it was a real thing. We went live with plans, started digging everything. And
was that your first business venture? Like first time opening up and doing something?
Yeah, I mean, we had
like that you put on paper.
Yeah, sure. I mean, my dad had a lawn care business on the side that we've done, but nothing like opening it, learning stuff like when you're talking about the plans with your occupancy load, and then you're going in here of what's allowed here and what's allowed there, and you're like, holy Toledo, what is all this stuff? And then you quickly realize you either hire an attorney or you become a Philadelphia lawyer, right? And so we really started reading into it. We learned that there's ways that you can do stuff and make it an elevated retail shopping, because we didn't have the arcade Axstone originally. So we put the gun store in. We started thinking restaurant, food-wise, and then the gun range, excuse my French there. Yeah. And so when we put the gun range in, it was a big hit. Everybody loved it. Climate controlled. You don't want to be outside shooting your gun when you're sweating your rear end off, or you're freezing your rear end off as well in the winter. And so when the restaurants,
what is that like, man? What do you got to get approved? What do you got to get done to put a gun range in? There's so many people today, have guns at home. Mm-hmm, sure. Obviously, so they can just go outside in the backyard and start, popping off at beer cans and stuff. You really can't do that, right? I mean, there's some laws that protect that.
Yeah. I grew up where that was a big thing. We grew up with a big farm, and so when you do that, it's no big deal. Like you go out there, you got 8, 10, 20 acres on the farm. You just go out there and you shoot all you want to. Well, then we quickly realized, hey, that's not everybody's life. And I don't mean this like people will live in subdivisions. I've never lived in a subdivision until I married my wife. And so I'm like, people didn't get to experience the things I did. So shooting in a gun range is very unique to a lot of people. My dad shot with Team Glock for a little while, so I had some experience just going in ranges. But when you look at the whole aspect of it, you think, oh, there's a ton of people that's going to control you over it. Oddly enough, the public gun range aspect of it is not regulated.
Really?
But
I didn't know that.
It goes by safety standards, right?
Okay.
But as far as you getting permits and stuff like that, so there's some red tape on it that you definitely want to follow. Like we had a federally approved firing range engineer that designed it. Basically, a bullet can't leave, right? You bulletproof dividers, stuff like that, and you go into it. But as far as the county side of it, as long as it's permitted to be used in that area, then you're solid with it. And then your insurance companies love you, because as long as you do what we've done and never have an incident inside there, they just continue to like your annual premiums.
Really?
And so it's unique. It's very much so that you got to keep your air quality up and control the lead and stuff like that. So we kind of went a route to be able to recycle while we do it. So for every bullet shot, I capture 100% of the lead, well, 98.5% of the lead, and then I capture all the brass. Now, if you shoot your brass and it falls on the floor, you can collect your own brass. But if you don't want to collect your brass, it's no big deal. Well, then I get to recycle that, and I get to make another form of revenue off of it. So I sell brass, and then I sell lead. And so there's some
smart. That's smart.
Well,
That's smart.
Well, it was more cost up front, but then we could see the return on it down the road. So
let me ask you something. So if I come in there and I shoot, and all my bullets go on the floor, I pick up all my brass, can I sell it back to you?
No, I don't buy. But a lot of people, well, pre-COVID, a lot of people were reloading. COVID times, those parts of your primers, your brass, your actual projectile, your powder got really hard to find. Still, to an extent, it's still hard to find. But it became where it wasn't feasible to load because it wasn't cheaper. And then a lot of people realized how much time and investment it took to do it. So basically what I tell people is every time you pull the trigger, I made money on you when I sold the ammo to you, and I made money when you shot the ammo. So it's a unique thing.
What's been the biggest challenge having it? I mean, realistically, you mentioned you didn't have any incidents, but there had to been some things that had to happen. Did you guys... you had no problems at all with anybody?
No, slide by when somebody just improperly holds the handle and stuff like that. We've had some, like one guy, he shot the ceiling accidentally up in front of you, but we've got a safety ceiling, so it's crazy how they do the angles and the math on it, but basically if you were laying on the floor and whatever angle you could hold a firearm, a bullet couldn't leave the building, and we've got concrete walls. One thing we did do is we learned through a couple other ranges is if you have one bay or one solid opening, if a piece of your HVAC goes down, then you're shut down because you got to have fresh air in there. You can't have the gunpowder, you can't have the lead powder, all that in there. So we have 3 bays. I think you rented one for your son for a birthday party one time on that, and you do that. So the hardest part about a gun range is actually your ventilation on it, and that really starts at the planning period on the front of it. But then you separate out your cooling and your heating on it. And so you don't run your heat for, 4 months, 5 months out of the year. And then all of a sudden you've got to kick it back on and you're like, crap, it's not working well. Of course you don't need the heat until you actually need the heat. And so now you're down a bay. So we've been blessed to have 3 bays, but at the same time, you always need the 3 bays when you need them. And so kind of get limited on that part of it. But that's been the hardest part of the gun range for sure, is that ventilation.
What about clientele base? Like, can kids go in there? I'm sure dad's, teaching the kids, or any ages or any requirements that are there for that?
So 10 years old to shoot with an adult.
So 10 years old, they can start shooting.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
for some reason, I thought it was like 16, 18 years old.
No. So we're all about gun safety. So I've got 2 NRA certified instructors, then a former Marine. You don't ever call them an ex-Marine because they're still a former Marine that works for me. Did a phenomenal job with safety. And so what we do is when we do that, you sign a waiver. We ask people, hey, if you're not comfortable with your firearm, we'll definitely send somebody down there with you. We can do some improv 15-minute classes to get you comfortable with it. But the age limit on it is more so that we want to encourage that younger generation to shoot. The thing about it is instances happen when you have something that you keep away from your child and say, don't touch it, don't touch it, don't touch it, don't touch it, instead of saying, hey, do a dangerous thing safely. So hand them that firearm, let them handle it in a safe way. Always keep it downrange. Show them the unique things around it. It's no different than a kitchen knife or anything like that. You teach them how to use it safely, and you're always going to have good results out of it.
Yeah, that's such a solid point. You know, there's so many people worried about, guns killing people, and, it's like guns not killing people, people are killing people, obviously, right? Type of thing. But the reality is, if you teach a kid how to use it and they respect it a little bit more than having the curiosity of wondering, what's it all about?
Sure. I mean, they get the experience, and there's nothing against video games. I love playing with my buddies. That's a lot of times how we just chill down at night.
You play video games?
Yeah, absolutely.
Come on. When do you find time for that?
Yeah, well, that's late night with it. That's when some buddies just want to get together and hang out.
What's your favorite video game?
Call of Duty. By
Call of Duty?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, you any good at it?
They call me the sleeper, but I think it's because I'm just I call myself the anchor. I'm the last one on the team, but I enjoy it.
Yeah.
But it's more so that you teach the kids how to deal with it. It's the same thing with a car. You teach a 15, 16-year-old how to drive, you're already late to the game. So put them in a golf cart when they're 10 years old and teach them how to drive a golf cart, right?
Yep.
And then, or lawnmower, or a tractor.
Four-wheeler,
I was driving a tractor at 6 years old around through there, and you hear people having major incidents with tractors and they get killed with them because, they're a big piece of machinery. But if you teach them how to do it safely, then you can have more confidence with them and all. I can remember, this is the craziest thing, my dad has a landscaping company that he does on the side now. And I can remember being 7 years old, walking around with a weed eating around my house. And my mother was like, she was walking around watching me, and she's a nurse, so every bad thing that can happen is in her head happening right now. But she's a phenomenal woman. I couldn't do
I bet you had jeans on when you were doing it.
Oh, yes. Oddly enough, my dad now weed eats with shorts and flip-flops, but I love him to death, but that don't make sense. But yeah, so you teach them safety, young age, it grows up with them, and it's no different anything they handle in life. You got to teach them all. Heck, you got to teach women about men, and teach them to love the right person. Your daughter, you just didn't want to marry anybody, and so I've got a 6-year-old girl right now. She just turned 7, and training her hey, this is what a man should be.
That's right.
Respect all. It's no different. It's just it's an object versus a human being versus a pet. You got to teach them with a pet too.
Yep.
Kids got to learn respect, and that's how we've translated in the store is. You're a 10-year-old, you come in here, you're just doing it safe. We're happy. Everything's good. You're going to enjoy it.
It's so good and refreshing to hear somebody say these things, okay? Because the world doesn't hear it enough. That's the problem. These kids today, they're scrolling, they're looking online, they're watching different things, and they look for the funny things.
Yep.
They look for the guy that did something stupid with a gun, or look for the person that did something stupid with a pet, or just want to see the result of something bad happening, right? Type of thing. Like, for some reason, that attracts people. But to actually understand at a younger age, if you knew, hey, this is what it does, blah, 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 it's no big deal. It's no big deal. It's just part of life, and understanding what you want, what you don't.
They're always going to be taught. Is it they're taught the right thing, and is it taught by somebody you trust to teach them? So teach them with what you're doing, and then that they've been taught right, and they've been taught by somebody you trust, because I surely hope you trust yourself.
Right.
So
now it's starting to make sense to me. So now I can see, why you have so you got the axe throwing in there too. Part of the same, like, you got a lot of dangerous things going on in there.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you have a different level of respect because you respect each individual item, and people have to be trained how to use them at a proper age and stuff.
Yep.
But it doesn't scare you. Do you ever have anybody in the axe run? So I know that got to become real big over the last 3 to 4 years. You know, where people going in there throwing axe at dartboards, so to speak.
Yeah.
What is that like?
So we're unique. We serve alcohol on premise. So you have to. We tell people you have to shoot before you drink, but we do allow you to drink while you axe throw. And so with it all, so we have a axe master.
So hold on, axe over there, boom, take a swig, grab my axe and then throw.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But I just can't have the axe and let's drink at the same hand.
In a way, right. So we keep what we call an axe master or a coach with you the whole time. In some places, you was bring your own beer with it. They got too rowdy. A lot of places in Atlanta got shut down because they were having people doing like mosh pits, breaking couches and stuff like that. It was just dumb. But we have that axe master with you, and that axe master does a lot of things. So they not only teach you how to properly throw an axe, they keep you safe, but they teach you games. So we do Around the World, we do King of the Hill, we do standard, what's called the World Axe Throwing League. We don't actually, we're not a member of that, but we follow those rules. And so when we're doing all that, we really see the benefits of it. But with the alcohol side of it, it keeps them friendly. And I'll tell you, some of my axe masters are my best bartenders because they'll sit there and say, hey, did you try our double IPA? Well, you had our Longboard or our Pilsner, which is our West Coast, and go try that. Well, then all of a sudden I've got more people serving beer, so it's a big thing for us. So we enjoy that. But the safety function of it, we had one injury, learned from it. Our first weekend ever being open, we allowed people to bring their own axes. Major mistake.
Oh, yeah?
The biggest issue we ever
Rambo
seen,
showed up?
I would rather have, this is going to sound crazy, I would rather have a woman come in and me teach a woman to do it. And that's not being sexist or anything, because she listens. She don't have bad habits to break.
I know that. 100%.
And so we'll come in and it's a macho guy, he's big, muscular. Hey, I was Marine Corps, or, you know, I was in police. I know how to throw an axe. I'm going to throw it as hard as I can at the thing. Well, he had that same mentality. Him and his wife were a little jawing at each other. Great competition couple. Loved it. Great energy. And he brought his own axe, and it was double-sided. And so she got a 10 ring on her, 6 ring on it, excuse me. He missed, and the axe fell on the floor. And she was, yeah. Oh, yeah, I'm better than you. And it was getting to him, boy. It was just a mental thing. And he bent over to pick up the axe while looking at her, and he cut his thumb on his own axe. Oh. And so we're like, yeah, we're going to cut that out. So we don't have to worry about that issue. But, you know, little things where people, you know, get a splinter because they grab the board or whatever, little things, but nothing ever major with it. So,
you know, it's so funny you talk about women with that. You know, I own a women's professional football team, and the same people, you know, people are like, you know, I've coached men, coached kids, coach, you know, now female ladies as well. And they're like, you know, what was the easiest ones to coach? And it always was the women because, like you said, they didn't have any bad habits. Yeah. And they're like sponges. They want to learn. They want to know, and they do want to compete. Sure. Stuff. So I could totally, you know, see that being a thing. What got you to transition into entrepreneurship? I mean, doing all these different things, like how do these light bulbs go off in your head?
So my wife tells me I'm addicted to my phone, but it's in a different way. Like, I love absorbing information. So I'll watch videos on the most random stuff out there, and I can always take something away from it. And so whether it's a rap song that I'm not into, but I hear something like, oh, they keep repeating that. What is that? And I Google it. Or it's something in Europe going on with German beer. And you're like, what in the world is going on? Why are people drinking that beer? It looks like trash. Then you realize, oh, it's a Hefeweizen. So people love it. And so I just really focus on that. I kind of OCD on it. It's CDO if you do it correctly correctly in the alphabet. But I hyper focus on weird things. My wife tells me I'm a book of useless knowledge most of the time because I try to know a little bit about everything. But I take that and then put in a market where I try to know everything about it. Like, this becomes a passion. And I quickly realized when I was in the hunting market, because when we opened the gun store, we had a hunting section. I can't hunt because I have to be here to sell everything to people who are hunting. Well, when are they buying that? During hunting season. Well, I can't make money doing this. So then I realized, hey, there's a small part of that passion. I love firearms. And so, well, let's just key in on that market, right? And you learn from your mistakes, for sure, with it all. The restaurant industry, great industry. I love the people in that restaurant industry. It's just not for me. Yeah. So we go from there to the entertainment side of it. The axe throwing as we heard about this, it was becoming a fad in Florida really quick. So when we were down there, we decided we was going to give it a shot. And so we tried it out, and then you just stop and look. And I love people watching. I used to go to the mall with my mom. My dad worked 2 and 3 jobs. My mom worked 2.
So hold on. So you opened up a 35,000 square foot facility so you could people watch.
Correct. Yeah.
And get paid doing it.
Correct. That works. Yeah.
Not a bad idea.
Yeah. Well, when you go to a mall or whatever, and you look at what people are doing, then you can quickly key on, like, what are they focusing on? I mean, retail stores, these big chains, I mean, the reason why they've got their front-facing stuff that they do or they do at end cap is because they watch where people's eyes go. So you don't have to be an engineer to figure that out or be in the industry for 30 years. You watch when you walk down through there, people are seeing that, then they're figuring it out. Hey, I really want to look at that. Well, then you translate that into, okay, well, if they're walking through every square inch of my store, what are they looking at? Well, straight aisles, you don't do straight aisles, because if you do straight aisles, they're looking at an object 50 foot away from them instead of making them meander. IKEA figured that out, right? You have to go all the way through their store.
Right.
So it makes you look at every different object. So watching people really helped me learn what people are focusing on. And so when you know a little bit about everything, then you key in on stuff that you're passionate about. Or like, I was not passionate about arcades. Like, I thought them as an electronic nightmare. But it's a great industry to be into, and it's fun for everybody. You see somebody come in that, you know, a 2-year-old, my little 2-year-old loves playing some of the games, and then you see him come in with the 80-year-old grandma, and now she's playing a fishing game. Don't know what she's doing, but she's having a blast. And so it's things that you have passion. We're a big family on it, so anything the family can do together is a great passion. So
no, that's awesome. And you know what? In that store, you certainly can. And it's hard to leave without buying anything too, because there's always something for you at the right time. You know, whether you got a kid, I mean, you got ice cream, you know, that you guys make, you got all different sorts of candies and stuff. I mean, you got jams that are homemade. But what I love about what you do too is you do work with the community, and you allow some of the community people to sell some of the products there too, I've noticed.
Yes, absolutely.
You know, I've seen some homemade stuff that's been there that you've actually go ahead and you know, give them a shot. Here's a little spot on my shelf or on my table, and they can't do that at Walmart.
That's very true. Or they have to pay to be in Walmart,
right?
Places. But yeah, we do that. We're very rooted in the community. That's how we kind of even got our start with the gun range on its side of it. Is that what the community wanted? We're big in FCA. We do that. We do sponsorships. We're doing a Blooms and Brews event. So in the side of that community, we'll have between 25 and 30 vendors that set up a 10x10 booth in our parking lot, and they can sell whatever they want to. And I just charge them $50 for their booth, and that goes 100% to FCA on it. And so I'm helping the community by selling their products, but also supporting a local Christian group that helps spread the word in the schools around here for sure.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, you're always doing great stuff with it.
Thank
thing.
you.
So I mean, it's nice, you know, because a lot of people they understand how to make the money, but you know what you do with it is what matters.
Sure.
And what you've done with it, not only have you obviously increased and scaled your business, but you've also given back to a lot of the community and back to people with opportunities.
We wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the good Lord in the community. That's for sure. Because obviously, I'm not selling to people in Atlanta. I mean, Atlanta's a 30-minute drive away, but yeah, will people come up there? Absolutely. But it's not my target market. Right. My target market's 10 to 15 miles around me. And so if I can really focus in on them, then I got to know what they want locally. And so just really listen.
So knowing that, like, you know, mentioned listening is obviously a key and number one thing to do. You know, when you're first getting started and you're trying to figure out what products and stuff, what works, what doesn't, tell the viewers a little bit how do you operate and what you choose and how you make those decisions.
So that is a coincidence by how I learned on that, because we went to, it's called the Apparel Mart in Atlanta on the retail side of things.
Yep.
And it's 3 massive buildings. There's floor after floor of just
got a lot of clients
stuff.
there.
My gosh.
Yep.
And so when you go in there, you think, okay, well, what am I going to be doing here? Well, the first thing that I started doing was the wrong thing to do. Go in there and find the woman who's the best dressed with the most expensive clothes on and think, whatever she's buying is what I want, because if she's buying it, then I want her clients. Well, I mean, I'm not being rude, but when we bought the feed mill, I fell through the floor the first week we had it. That's how bad a shape it was. So we tell people we went from cavemen to Maseratis when we had some people pull in occasionally. And so I came in there trying to get some higher end product. Well, we learned that we kind of have to build that up. But what you do is you find your client that looks just like it. You completely stereotype them. People say it's wrong, but you do it in retail all the time. You stereotype the person, said, I want that to be my potential client. Now, they're a business owner, so they already know what their client is, but I want to see what they focus on, not necessarily buy, but they look at. Because when you go in that apparel mart, they're going to be putting their hands on stuff, but people are, I mean, at times it's important. And so they're not going to put any product in their hand that they wouldn't be potentially interested in. And so as people watching that, you'll do a lot with that. Now, you know, stuff that's trending. Social media really helps you with trends on that.
Sure, so nowadays.
You'll focus on trends like that, and you'll follow that. You know some key things that you want to do. But then you'll look at what other people are buying and be like, well, if they're buying that, there's something hot about it. Simply Southern was, for instance, on it. I thought they were these little quirky shirts for teenage girls. And then come to find out I was completely wrong. Every softball mom's got to have one with it all. And so we got into that market. And then the other thing is we've learned that you find products that'll protect you. So they'll give you a minimum dealership radius. And so you'll go in there and you're like, okay, well, if I'm a Simply Southern dealer, you won't let somebody come within 10 miles of me. And so that's protecting because we're a growing market up here. There's new retail stores popping up everywhere, new shopping centers popping up everywhere. So if I can protect that area, well, then now I've made myself a gotta go to place instead of, well, I can go here and buy, or I can just go over and buy it at Walmart. And so we really focused on those kind of products when we look at stuff.
Hey, folks, this is WamBam at WamBam's podcast. I want to take a moment to thank our major sponsor, Cost Plus Processing, the leader in merchant processing. If you're a business owner and you're accepting credit cards or need to accept credit cards, reach out to Cost Plus Processing at 1-855-391-9190. That's 1-855-391-9190. And find out why they are the future in merchant processing. Now back to the show. Yeah, that's great. It's a good perspective of it. How have you been as far as getting people and employment and stuff? Today's day and age, it's gotten real hard to find employees, to get good workers and stuff. Sure. What's it been like for you today?
It's changed. The market's changed a lot in 11 years with that. Used to, you could get a high schooler easily for, whatever minimum wage was, and they come in there and they knocked it out of the park. But now kids are learning, hey, I can go be a social media content creator. I can video myself playing video games, make a couple $100, And so what we've learned is for the younger generation side of it is give them something that they can really thrive on. Like I have a boy in there now that he loves walking in stilts. And we said, well, all you got to do now is make balloon animals and you've got it made. And it's just something that we can. And we can't do this with I don't want anybody to think when they have employees, you can do this with every single employee, like find something that they're very passionate about inside your company because it's not a fit for everybody. Right. But you find something that they're good at. Like I've got a young girl, never worked on an arcade machine in her life. I let her sit down and fool with one while I was working on it one time, and she started learning. I was like, hey, this girl's kind of catching on with this pretty quick. I was like, I'm going to give her a manual and let her go at it. And so I was like, she can't screw anything up. Sorry, broke, right? And so we let her play around with it. Next thing you know, she's fixed it, and it's a self-confidence builder. And money's not a driver by a lot of things anymore. I mean, even with inflation, it's not as big of a driver. I mean, people definitely want to make a fair wage, but we've learned you can throw money at stuff and it still don't give you a great employee. But if you give something that they can have some pride in, that's really where they shine. And so I have some party hosts because we do birthday parties there, and it's a girl and guy combo, and kick it out of the park. If they're on shift, I ain't worried about a single thing that comes with a party. And then in my gun range side of it, they get in competitions. Who can sell the most guns today? And I love it because I'm a win-win situation. Right? But you can go over there, and sometimes it's just you got to get on their level. And I don't mean that they're below you in any way, because I'll go sweep a floor and clean a toilet just as quick as anybody will. Sure. But you get on their level and they're talking, you go in there and say, oh, I just sold that gun before you did. What are you going to do? I sold 3 guns today, and I'm the owner of this place. I'm never behind this counter, right? And they're like, oh, I got to go sell some more guns. They get them going on that. So focusing on that, we really try to keep it close. We hire a lot out of North Forsyth because they're so close on the kids on it. The adults, it's going to sound bad that I say it, but a lot of them got bad habits you got to break. And so I'm fine with hiring younger generation with it all, as long as they're coachable. With it all, and they've had a good attitude. So when we go out there, we really blanket the market. Now that we've got someone outreaching for the parties and stuff to the schools, they kind of gravitate to us. And I don't believe in minimum wage with it by any means. Even if you're a high school kid, you come in here, you're going to make a little bit more than that. But like my bartenders and stuff like that, I pay them $7.50 plus tips on it. And what bartender minimum wage now, $3.20 or $2.30, whatever it is. Yeah. It's like, I know we're going to have slow times. I want you to make a fair wage with it. And I think people have understood that. I've got one employee now that he's my GM for my brewery side of it. Phenomenal job for me. But like, he had a water heater go out. Home life got miserable because he was waiting on his home warranty company to go in there. Dude, I can change the water heater out. Let's go. And he's like, what? So I spent 3 or 4 hours changing out a water heater for him. And then I've had people's cars break down. I went and towed them, changed batteries out for them. It's little things like that take my time, and my time's important. But that person is harder to replace than me taking an hour to go replace a battery in somebody's car for them. And so it's little things like that, and they appreciate it more than you think they do. I had some people key in my life that would go above and beyond that would really make it worthwhile, and I learned from them on it. And people that could have thrown me to the side, like, this kid's nothing. He's nothing to me. Why would I go out and help him? And they really showed me that, and it's like family. Okay, I get it.
I think that's one of the keys that you're talking about, and I think it's important viewers know that, building a relationship with your staff is extremely important.
Oh, absolutely.
And especially because not just because you hired them and they're working for you, but it's not like, hey, I'm paying you, so I expect you to do this. It's, hey, we're in this together. And this is what I'm trying to do. This is my vision, and you're helping me with my vision. You know, and if you're struggling with something, I'm going to be there for you too, because I want to help you with your vision as well. You know, and that's the one thing I think that a lot of successful businesses, if you really look at their staff and look at what they've done, you'll find that as a common denominator.
Oh, yeah.
And then some unsuccessful ones, you'll find the opposite, you know, where they're treating people as, hey, I'm paying you to do this. I expect it done. I don't care about X, Y, Z. I don't care about your house. I don't care about your home. I don't care about what's going on. Because the real identity is everybody has problems.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And stuff. And sometimes, you know, it's the person that's in front of them is the only one that can fix it and help them. And if you can do that, you should. And, you know, I'm the same way. I help a lot of people, do a lot with my staff and employees. And I'm thankful I'm able to do that because there was a time when I couldn't, you know, and I was on the flip side of that, and I was the one who needed help type of thing. So it's good. Are you worried about the personal relationship some of these people have today and the way social media is with these kids and the younger generation coming up, because they're so in tuned into the phones and into what's real and what's not real anymore? You don't even know these people that they're scrolling. They think they're scrolling famous people. You don't even know that's their account if that's what they're doing. Like, you know, you know, type of thing.
Well, that's a big thing with the AI coming out now. Anybody can duplicate anybody's voice that's going on with it. And
oh my God, AI is crazy.
It's stupid.
It is.
It's stupid in a good way and a bad way, right? I mean, it's like everything. There's pros and cons to everything. But when you come into that and you see everything on social media and everybody's keying in on it, you're like, well, what in the world am I actually going to be doing with employees to focus them? And I'll have some employees that like, hey, you just put them in the back. They're happy with being back there. They can surf on their phone occasionally. But when you've got people that really focus, they thrive, and they look at what this customer is actually doing, and you force them to have a conversation, sometimes they'll shine, even though they're used to being dug in that phone. You just have to kind of weed them out, you know, which way you put them in the right spots. You
know, it's unfortunate, but you see today's day, a lot of people try to, as employees, try to hold you hostage because they're like, oh, you need me type of thing. And, you know, some days they want to come into work, some days they don't, some days they're not showing. So what we've done, and we've made a huge pivot, obviously, in the AI world and in the merchant processing world and stuff, where, you know, we do have kiosks now. You know, we do have robots now. So if you don't want to work, you can do that. In fact, there was actually just a news episode. Panda, pull up the news episode. You know, let's take a look at this real quick, because this is what I'm concerned about and where the world's going. People worrying about jobs. What's going to happen when stuff like this becomes full-time?
Sure.
Let's take a peek.
Well, a new restaurant in Southern California is historic for what it is missing. No human workers behind the counter. Cali Express by Flippy is the world's first fully autonomous eatery, with its robotic chefs serving up burgers and fries for hungry customers. All right, let's bring in correspondent Nancy Liu, who is live in Pasadena with a look inside. And Nancy, I heard you say on the call this morning the food is pretty tasty.
It is very tasty, and believe me, I've been doing a lot of taste testing. But look, the robots are here. You've seen these kiosks before, but this is like a whole new level of robot takeover inside restaurants. It's why much of the service workforce could soon become obsolete. You can
how crazy is that, right?
It's insane. The fryer specifically, when I saw that, was blowing my mind.
Is robots. And, you know, Cali Express by Flippy, it's not open to the public yet, but as a News Nation viewer, you are getting a special sneak peek. This is the world's first restaurant powered by AI.
Damn. First restaurant. Like, literally, you can literally walk up to an empty space, put your own order in. You got a bunch of robots in the back that are preparing your food and serving it to you.
Yep.
I mean, you know, so it's like, I don't think the younger generation understands like the pressure should put on them to say, hey, go out there and make yourself valuable to,
that's a key word.
People.
Yeah, valuable. And what I tell goes along with that is irreplaceable. How can you make yourself irreplaceable? And everybody's like, well, everybody's replaceable. In certain aspects, you're not. You got to find what you can thrive at with it. A friend of mine's got an archery shop down in Jefferson, and he's got a robotic welder because he just got tired of training people, trying to do it the right way. He couldn't do it all. And you see, I mean, a robotic welder is one thing, and that's big in the automotive industry and stuff now, but you go to the restaurant industry. But what I'll take out of that video is you notice there's still an employee there.
Yeah,
they can't get rid of that employee.
Right.
That's that irreplaceable person.
There you go. There you go. That's the one that's got that value that you want to keep around to make sure everything's going right. And if something goes wrong, they could step right in and fix it.
Well, and then I'll tell you something you don't see in this video is where's the repairman?
Yeah.
that's got to fix it. I mean, that's a big deal when you've got AI is going to come out no matter if we like it or not.
But you know what? It's funny because I had this conversation with my son who's getting ready to graduate. You know, that's where the tradesmen,
Sure.
I think, are going to be the, you know, they're going to be the lawyers of the elite of the world coming in the next generation, next decade. I see that. Being a plumber, being an electrician, you still need them. You're not going to have a robot come into your house
Sure.
to fix your plumbing. You're just not going to do that because they don't know the layout of your house. You'd have to import all that information, software into the robot for them to know what the heck they're doing, right? So a tradesmith's actually going to be their value. It's not going to be a couple $100 to get your toilet unplugged. It's it may cost you $1,000.
Exactly.
You know.
Well, I mean, we live in the South. You think people are going to go without HVAC? No.
Heck no.
No, absolutely not.
No.
And my uncle, he has this famous statement. He said, "You've got to go to college. I don't care if it's tech school or college, but you've got to go. You can get a degree in basket weaving. I do not care. But the smartest thing you can do is go in the trade industry."
That's right.
And so he grew up on ExxonMobil. He worked for ExxonMobil on that. He was a pipe fitter for that. One of them there, and some of his family members still work for ExxonMobil. But you're not going to get rid of your trades ever. I read an article not too long ago that in Atlanta, a crane operator can make like $250,000 a year, and they go 6 months on training, and they've got all that. Why in the world would you tell kids not to focus on that?
Right.
I mean, live in Dawsonville, live in Lumpkin County, wherever you want, drive an hour to work, make great money straight out of high school, and do great with it. And that market, can a crane be operated from an AI? Probably. Eventually it'll get there. But they're still going to have a repairman. So when you look at that trade side of it, when you do HVAC, electrical, plumbing, like what you're talking about, you'll never get rid of that.
No, you gotta have them. Plus, you want the personal contact too.
Oh yeah,
you know, as well, and that's the thing as well. You know, because some of these AI things are scary. I'm not gonna lie. Like we got into it because we had to. Because a lot of our customers and stuff, for example, we got a lot of bowling alleys and stuff where they were having problems where people wouldn't show up to work. Well, they didn't show up to work, then people weren't getting orders.
Sure.
They couldn't order drinks, they couldn't order food to get delivered to the bowling alley and stuff. So we actually came up with a solution for that where there's a kiosk at every bowling alley. So if you're sitting there bowling, you want to order food, you go in the kiosk, you can order, and then boom, all you needed was somebody in the kitchen cooking the food.
Yep.
They cook the food, they take the ticket, they put the money, and we have a robot that actually physically will go out there and take the food to that to that right, knows right where they're going. We have to diagram it. We have to lay out the whole layout so the robot knows the whole diagram and stuff, and actually delivers the food. So now you got rid of two people.
Yep.
You know, you got rid of the person that's taking the orders. You got the person, the bus, the bus kid that's actually running out the order.
Sure.
And the funny thing about it is they don't take any breaks. They don't take any time off. They don't go to the bathroom or smoke. They're there 24/7.
Sure.
So it's worth having. And they're starting to. You're going to see more and more of that, I think, over the next decade for sure.
And I hope we're ahead of the curve on this, and that's where we try to focus so much on that experience with our company. Is a robot's not going to give you experience. It is awesome to watch that robot bring your beer out. So cool. I've been to there's a Las Palapas right here in Cumming. They have a robot that'll bring out some beer on a robot. Right?
Yep.
And it's so cool. The kids love it. It's got the little cat face on it. I think it even
that's what we do.
talks to you, right?
Yeah,
so you're like, that is so cool. But eventually that's going to be nothing but a TV that's sitting over there running by you, and you're so used to it because you're wanting that conversation. Like, there's not many times I get on the phone with somebody that I want to kill the call after 5 minutes, unless I'm slam busy, right? But it's just like, hey, I hadn't talked to you in forever. How are you doing? What you been up to, right? And that's part of the video game side of it that, joked around about me playing video games, but it's guys that I don't get to see daily that I get to talk to, and we get to share about our family and stuff. And that experience side of it, I think, is going to be where that market comes back in. That not an experience of going to Dollywood or Six Flags or whatever like that. Those are great. I'm not degrading them in any way, but it's the experience like, hey, that's a person that I'm talking to. I can relate to them. Like Christy Blackburn, she'll come in. She heads up our main store, and then she's the heads up 100% of Heavenly Dove, our Christian bookstore. I've seen that woman pray with people, come in there and do stuff like that, and it's like, you can't get that from no robot.
See, that's the difference. Yeah, but you know what? It's not knowing, having the experience is one thing. But having the right people doing it is another.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's where I think, people are failing. I mean, I'll just call it. I call many businesses are failing on that because they hire people 24/7, but they don't take the time to really train them of what can make them better. Heck, you can't go. I don't care whether it's Applebee's. I don't care if it's O'Troy. I don't care where you go to eat. You once in a while you find a pretty solid, good waiter or waitress that's very friendly and they actually care about you, and that's really all you need to do is show that you actually have some sort of care for the customer, right? That it's not a job, that I'm here to try to help you. Whether it's taking your order, whether it's serving you something, whether it's giving you a good, goods. Like when you do that, does it not stand out? But then today's day and age, you don't see a lot of that, man. You see these kids just kind of, to get your order, here's your food, anything else, but there's no going above and beyond. There's no attitude. And when I say attitude, I mean good attitude.
Right, sure.
You know what I mean? Type of thing. You'll get the bad attitudes, but you don't see the good stuff. And I just feel like that comes from the top down.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, hey, does your boss know this is how, like, do they even know this is how you're trained, that you're doing things like this?
Sure.
It blows my mind sometimes.
I hate micromanaging. I cannot stand it. It's my biggest thing. I want to say right from, if I have an employee that feels like I'm micromanaging, if they'll ever have a conversation and they'll actually say that, like, I can't stand, why are you micromanaging me? And I had a conversation very recently with an employee that said that. And they're like, well, yeah, I feel like you're micromanaging me. And I'm like, I see so much in you.
Yes.
And if you can get by with, hey, keep the mirror clean or keep the toilet paper rolls full in the bathroom, if you'll just make that part of something that you don't even think about, it's done, you will blossom. He's my #1 bartender. Dude's phenomenal. But it's the little things like that, and kind of had a rough spot with him. He's kicking butt and taking names right now with it all. But I see so much in him, and I want him to grow with me. And what people don't understand is promotion is given because you do more than expected.
That's right.
And so what I tell it, even in the Christian
Why is it that people today, they feel like promotion is given based on time? If I'm here for a year, I'm here for 2 years, I should get paid more because I'm here 2 years. And I'm like you. I'm in the same boat. Like, no, time doesn't warrant, a raise.
Yeah.
What warrants a raise is production and what you're doing.
Well, I think that comes back from old school. I learned from a very old school guy, but I saw his thing was he was just nitpicking like every penny it cost me money. And that's a big thing. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to overlook that.
Sure.
But I think you need to be vocal about it and not in an arrogant way. So like when you've got somebody dealing with something, like when they're loading a tank for me, I've got a 5-barrel system, 6 tanks. Each one of those tanks has over $2,000 worth of product in them that you put in them originally. And so when somebody spills something, you're like, man, dude, that was $250. And you're not saying it to be an arrogant butthole. What you're doing is you're telling them like, hey, that took you 2 seconds to screw up $250. And so when I tell them when I'm dealing with equipment, like, hey, that's a $10,000 projector, like, don't mess with it. If you've got questions, let me know. And sometimes that comes across arrogant, like, oh, you spent $10,000 on a projector. It's like, no, buddy, it's my blood, sweat, and tears there. And if you will keep it together and you'll do everything I'm asking you to do, you'll be a part of phase 2, 2.0. 2.0 is big in my head right now. What can I do secondly, right?
Right.
And so when we expand, there's some key people that I'd love to take with me. And there's some people like you've kind of capped out at your capacity. But the promotion side of it, from the older generation, it was, oh, well, I've been with you forever. Let me give you a few more pennies, right? I would much rather somebody come in and knock my socks off and me think, I can't go another day without this person because they're such a key to my business. What can I do? And so we've kind of shifted, or we are shifting, and my future is definitely going to have a lot of it, is a base pay is great. Don't get me right. But I want you to be sales driven and to do a profit share with you. Not necessarily ownership of the company, because that's my blood, sweat, and tears from my family, right?
Of course.
But if you do good, I want you to get it out of it. Right. And I don't want you to feel like, oh, I'm here 40 hours a week and I'm making, whatever. I want you to be driven off of it. And we've got to get that older mentality out of it. When the boomers, they retire, and that was big side on their mentality. This newer generation, okay, what can I give them that they feel like they've actually received something? Cash is definitely part of it. But when they feel like they can, oh, I helped build that, or that machine's working now, and that family over there is working on this basketball hoop fever or whatever. I fixed that the other day. It wasn't nothing major, but I fixed it. It gives them a little boost. I think this generation, the generation coming out of high school right now, really lacks self-confidence. And it's probably so much in that phone that they get focused on it. They see these people.
Well, all these selfies, man.
Well, you see, like you said, you don't even know people, and you're following them on social media. Is that really even their attitude, or do they turn it on for a screen?
Oh, dude, I've said it over and over again. So many people are spending hours on screen time watching other people's lives. If they put half the energy into their own life, they would be so much more happy. Oh, you know what I'm saying? And just focusing on those things. But they're saying, and the funny thing about this too is even the things that are educational that you can actually learn, because I do believe there's a piece of that, right? Sure. Where you can learn a lot and stuff, but you only learn if you actually put it to work.
Sure.
How many times do you say, here's a get rich quick scheme, right? People will spend the money, they'll buy a course, how do I get rich? But then they paid the money for the course. Some people don't even finish the course. You know what I'm saying? And for the ones that do, even if they finish the course, did they apply any of those things to what they needed to do to try to become rich? No, they'll go one ear and out the other. Yeah. They just want to know what the secret is, but are you willing to put in the work and the time and the effort and everything afterwards?
Time is the big thing there.
Yeah.
Are you willing to dedicate it to it? It's like my little girl, she wanted to play the guitar the other day, and we got her a guitar, and she's decided, that's just a lot. She kind of goes stressing out. So we said, okay, but you've got to focus on something else. Like we've got to keep you moving forward to learn something. And I tell people the moment you stop learning and you get idle is the day you start dying.
That's right.
And so my grandfather is a great example of it. Phenomenal man, worked his rear end off, backs like this because of all the heavy block and stuff he picked up in his life. But he just kind of got idle with it. And we can see that mentally start happening. It kills me because he was like a second father to me. But I noticed with him and said, listen, I want to take everything good that he's done in his life as well as all the family before me. But there is some bad things in everybody, even me. I want to focus away from that. And his issue was, hey, I just got complacent and stopped learning. Right. And I don't ever want to be like that with it all.
Hey, folks, this is WamBam at WamBam's podcast. I just wanted to let you know that we've launched our website and merchandise is now available to you. That's right. We have hats. We have T-shirts. We have hoodies. The hoodies have been going off the shelf already. The Stay Positive hoodies. That's right. Stay positive, folks, and keep tested negative. As you know, go to our website at www.wambamspodcast.com. That's www.wambamspodcast.com. Now back to our show. True. What are some things that you found throughout the years yourself that, you know, you did, hey, I wasn't as good as I should be, and you learned from yourself and you made some changes?
Hiring people, number one thing that I was horrible on. I will tell people when they come to interview, it's the most untraditional interview you're probably ever going to be in. I want to know more about your personal life than I ever care about your work life. Because if your personal life is in the pits, it's going to reflect on that. And I want you to know as much about me as you want to know. Because if you want to know about my kids, I'm going to tell you about my kids. And because you need to know what I am morally. Because if you don't know where I am on a moral standpoint, then you're going to be chasing a moving path. Like, hey, is this the right thing to do? Is this the right thing to do? There's a fine line with me, right, on it all. And so when I go into there, that's the way I treat it. And that was my biggest thing. And I would just hire somebody because I needed a warm body in a position. And I would hire them quickly. And now it's okay if we don't get it. I'm big on customer service in a bad way that I want somebody to be handled so fast. I want to move them through the line. That's great, but sometimes I don't give them the best experience. So now it's okay if I have a line. As a matter of fact, it's actually real good if I have a line because people are there. And sometimes I would say that the retail side of this has pushed it in the bigger industry. They force a line because mentally in your head, you're not thinking about it. But like, man, these places are so busy. I need to come here at a different time. And now your slower times are now some of your busier times because you force the mentality of they're busy now. And the hiring was definitely an issue that I had with it. Traffic flow was a big fault of mine. And it kind of forced my hand because we dealt with a building that was existing there. And then we just kept growing it. If I had a blank slate, a box, I could really hype that up. But we've been able to do the best we can with what we've got, and it's not bad in any way except what I see personally. And I'm my biggest critic on that, and that's another thing that I fell in, is I see so much bad things, so many bad things that I could do better. And it's not bad to the public. Everybody's had a great job with it, but it's like, I didn't get that. I didn't see that spot that it should have been taken care of. Or I have that piece of retail over here and it should have been there because it could have sold more. And I just beat myself up on it. And I was one time I got in a pretty bad spot mentally because in an entrepreneurial world, you are your own support system. Yeah, you have your family and stuff, but I try to leave that at home. And me and my wife, we had some things like it took us 3 years to get pregnant and stuff like that. And you see an entrepreneur and you see, oh, they're doing great and everything. And there's people who've done way more than me in life. And you look at that and like, oh, the spotlight, they've made millions, they've done all this stuff. And I'm still working on all that. But you don't see where they had their feet in the mud, that they had their nose down to the stone, that, I know one guy specifically, he had a gun to his head. He was ready to pull the trigger. Yep. And he's like, it's been too rough for me to do this. I can't keep going. And he got a phone call from his buddy. Like, hey, what you doing? Completely forgot about everything that was in life. And I think that's a big time to wind down for me is the lawn care side. I love working in the yard. You ask me, how do I have time for it? I moved 14 yards of topsoil this past week just because it's my zen time. I love it.
It's like going on a massage for you.
The good Lord made so many beautiful things. Like it's springtime right now. It's a refreshing of the earth, refreshing the soul, spirit, everything with it. See all the flowers blooming and stuff. If you don't take the time to see that, what are you here for? Enjoy the minute that you're in. I still fail. I still fail on that a lot. But
that's well said, man. To be honest with you, you put something on me on that one because you're right. I don't absorb it all in. I don't take the time to shoot. I live here on a lake and I wasn't even on a lake last year. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And I remember that was a dream, being on a lake, having a lake house and stuff. So you're right. Once you have it, you don't think about it as often because it's there, but you don't take the time to enjoy it either, which is important.
The biggest thing, hunting has been my biggest ground to earth. Like people say, oh, you hunt to kill an innocent animal. I pray over every animal that I kill because that thing was a life that it gave to me for me to be able to eat it. And I eat everything that I shoot.
Okay.
But when you...
I think it's a little different there.
Well,
because you said that. Like, you eat everything you shoot. Like, there was a purpose behind it.
Sure.
You know, which I think helps.
But I think you get to enjoy the world in such a different point of view when you're in nature. And to me, it's connecting. Like, my dad and me, when we used to hunt, we had these little, we call them inch caterpillars, you know, that they would inch up and down, and you would play with them. You'd watch it, and you would look at that thing, and you would see all the tiny details that you would never see when you're in the hustle and bustle. I tell people around here, concrete's multiplying like rabbits, like it's growing everywhere. But when you can sit down and you can look at that caterpillar and think, my goodness, how many details are on that? And then you look at a flower and how a honeybee survives and stuff like that, and you're like, I have been running 90 miles an hour this week. In this 2 minutes that I've stared at this caterpillar, I've had more peace in those 2 minutes than I've had in 40 hours of working, right? I don't know what a 40-hour work week looks like, but
Right.
that's just thing is just slow down, enjoy life. It's definitely a struggle for anybody that owns a business because there's always something wrong. That problem will still be there tomorrow.
Yeah.
That's
Amen to
the hard
that.
thing.
Amen to that. You know, I do want to focus on a couple things real quick.
Yeah.
I know you opened up a brewery and
Yes,
so
sir.
forth over there. What has that been like? What's it like to open up a brewery? What are some of the challenges that you had with that? And I know it's going well for you.
Yeah, so that's I got tongue tied just trying to tell you where to even start with it. The biggest thing with the brewery and distillery side of it is the paperwork and red tape, right? A lot of the laws are built from the dry period of the Stone Age when alcohol was bad. Everybody that touched alcohol was bad. We'll tell people drink responsibly, right? With it, the red tape on it, with the tax side of it. The biggest thing is the government doesn't care how much alcohol you sell or how much you make. Typically, there's within reason of that, as long as you pay your due diligence on it. The county is the same way with that. You have to be certain distances away from churches and schools and stuff like that. So really filling out the integral part of that and going with it. And then when we started production, it was, I like certain beer, I like certain liquor. But in my retail side, I had to learn just because I liked it doesn't mean it was sale.
Right.
So with the beer side of it, I was able to start that off by saying, it doesn't matter what Chase likes, sell what people like.
That's right.
And so we would focus on it. It's a major science project. I'm an inner science geek, right? And so I love seeing how the yeast works and the sugars break down, and then you're just converting everything over. And so we're running we make per tank, I'm 150 gallons of finished product in my beer side of it. And so like right now I pulled off, we call it the Gunpowder. It's our first hazy New England. And so when we do that, we kind of play puns off the name for Freedom Mill, Freedom Everything. It's hilarious. I'm in the market that the government controls the most as far as selling firearms and selling alcohol.
Right.
I tell everybody, I'll just need the tobacco and have ATF covered, right?
There you go.
But the biggest thing on it is when you focus on making it, how you store it, how you keep it sanitary and stuff like that. We run under Department of Ag because we don't sell food. So when we're Department of Ag based, there's a little lenience with it. But if you come in my place, any Department of Ag guy will be like, hey, you're health certified. I mean, you've got all that as clean as can be. But it's really focusing on your product, what you put in it, how you finish it off. And then what I love about the beer industry is you've never made a bad beer. And everybody's like, what do you mean you've made bad beer? Yeah, you have.
To you.
If you market it right.
Somebody likes it.
Somebody likes it.
Somebody likes it.
I had my famous beer that I've ever sold. And when I say famous, at least to me. New Year, new beer. Royal Screw Up, a lady that used to work for me, mismeasured some product in it. Didn't write it down right. When she pulled it off, I was like, this tastes like crap. And then I put it out there. It didn't sell. And so pulled it off for a month, put it back on the tap at New Year's, called New Year, New Beer. Sold every keg in 2 months. And I'm like,
Same beer.
that is hilarious. And I learned from it. And now I can take stuff and tweak it. And the way we do it is we split the beer process. So we have wort made offsite, the grain made offsite, brought in and wort to us. And it's called Smart Brew, phenomenal system. And shout out to them, by the way, New Zealand.
There you go. Give them some.
But the big thing about it is when we make it, we can flavor to keg. So I don't have to make all 150 gallons the same flavor. So seltzers are big right now. I'm actually chasing seltzers. We've got a Black Dragon, which is dragon fruit and pomegranate and blackberry together. It's a big killer. The good thing is it looks great. It's a beautiful purple color on it all. Yeah. And I'm very picky with my beer, and I will not put something on the shelf.
So it's a purple beer.
Yeah, it's seltzer, so it's a little different. Yeah. It's lighter. The ladies love it. Lower calorie, right? But it's purple on it.
So if I'm drinking, I'm going to make fun of it now because I'm not.
No. What's funny is my red, white, and blueberry is a blueberry-based wheat, and guys won't touch it to start with. But they'll go get their wives and they'll take a sample of it. I'm like, God, was really good. And I'm like, yeah, it's because it's my number one selling beer, right?
Yeah.
And so that's what, and so they'll start drinking it. So
You know, it's funny. I think that's why with seltzers of like High Noons and stuff like that was always, oh, it's a girl drink. Happy Dad did something smart because they said Happy Dad.
Exactly.
So it made it for everybody, you know, type of thing. And it was, you know, it had the similar formula to it all. But yeah, it's important. You know, you got to feel like a man when you're drinking.
Oh, well, you got to feel like a man, but you also got to feel like you know everything about it. Like, we'll have the homebrew guys, and those guys know every single they know more than me about making beer, and they're just making it on the side. Well, I don't need to know every single detail of it because of the partnership I have with the equipment and work it out. And so if you ask me all these little individual numbers about my gravity and my work and everything, am I going to be able to rattle them off? Absolutely not. And I've got somewhere I can go to it. I think Einstein once said, I don't need to know my phone number because I got it wrote down somewhere. But that is just how it works, is you work off everything in it for each individual part of your ingredient, and then you make it happen. And so they'll come in and critique it, and you're like, yeah, you can critique it all you want to, but I'm still going to sell it. So
Wow.
it's all about that.
Now, being that you have a gun range right there, is that an issue or problem as well, or do you got to shut the gun range down? I mean, what is that like? You have any issues? I mean, think of people get drunk, they get stupid.
Sure.
Is it having to try to break in your store or anything like that, where you know they're going to grab a gun, do something? I mean, things happen.
Yeah, no, I mean, things definitely happen, but so you shoot before you drink. No, we do UV marks on people's hands, so the ladies come in, they don't feel like they're not 18 again, you know, getting marked at the club. We're also a brewery. We're not a bar. So we make a big distinction on that. Bars you go to get drunk at, not saying people don't get drunk at breweries, but there's a big difference with it. Now, as far as the gun side of it, when people try to go up there and shoot, we have UV lights that pick up those hands, right? Now, there's idiots in every place, and I say that very liberally when I say that, but we had one incident, it was well before we started serving alcohol, somebody tried to break into our building.
Really?
Funny story, when we reviewed the cameras, they were there for 3.5 hours and never took a single thing.
What?
Never took a single thing. Walked within 5 foot.
How did they break in, first of all?
So first they came in, car came up on Spot Road, 2 individuals got out, and they went into what they thought was a crawl space. Well, what it was the bottom of an old feed bin built in 1951. And because of the previous owners, they had a bunch of rodent issues and stuff, you know, possum stuff trying to get to the feed. So they had all this wire down there. They spent all that time underneath my floor trying to cut through the wires. I mean, when we got in there and started looking, the police got in there and investigated, there was blood everywhere where they got cut trying to crawl through there. When they made it actually into a piece of the store, they knocked out part of the wall. That's the only way they could get in there. I mean, you can't even drive a car into my building because everything's raised. We built that purposely like that. And so they came in there, they found a sledgehammer like they was going to have to knock a door open. Well, hello, you're inside, you goofball. Thieves aren't the brightest. Some of them are really smart. If they put their brain to work, they'd make a lot of money. But they let their buddy in. They came inside, ran through the whole place. Now, this is the key. It's before we expanded. We had 2 restrooms, both 10 foot by 10 foot, okay? You can see, it can be pitch black, and you can almost touch a wall to a wall, okay? 2 gentlemen walked in, one of them had a full face mask on, one of them didn't. Walked in, went in the restroom, past the entrance to the gun door, which we've got security doors, so they'd have to still got through that security door. And both of them just hung out in the bathroom for about a minute and a half together. Yeah. It was like, well, guys, I don't know what y'all are doing in there, but y'all obviously are having fun. You can touch off 4 walls. They turned the light on, and then they realized, oh, crap, the alarm's been going off for probably more than enough time. So they ran out of there. Well, as they ran out, they went by a camera. I noticed exactly who it was. It was a guy that tried to buy a gun from me the week before. Just so happened I tried to handle him, or was handling him, I should say. And he done something really weird. And what a lot of people don't realize at gun stores is, yes, we're there to make a profit, but we have every right to not sell a gun to somebody. And we'll do that. Like, if you're kind of giving me bad vibes and stuff like that, you're not buying it, right? And like, we came in, asked for a 30-round mag and a Glock 19, which is very odd, but, you know, to each its own pleasure, and asked, can I stick this in my pants to see if it fits? I said, no, sir, you can't. You need to leave. Well, he had, in the meantime, had already been, before he started that crap, he had filled out his 4473 on it. The jumbo gave me his exact driver's license, a real one. And we scan every driver's license and we put it in for it. So if we make a mistake, we've always got the paperwork to go back to. When the police came in, they said, do you notice that guy? I said, yeah, I got his driver's license right over here. He goes, it's probably a fake driver's license. Well, it wasn't. It was a real one. Yeah. You know how they got caught? They were robbing a gas station up the street, stealing male enhancement pills. a thief's not always the bright one.
That's right.
But that's probably the funniest story we have at the store and all.
Damn, that's great. All over. And you don't. That's one thing. Now, do you sell that stuff in your store now?
What was that now?
Enhancement pills.
Oh no, we do not.
You sell everything else. Which is what?
No,
it's an opportunity. Somebody's trying to steal something for it.
We aggravate my father-in-law because we both grew up old school Southern Baptist. We're non-denominational now, and a lot of things versus tradition versus following Christ, right? A lot of stuff in tradition ain't in that Bible. Okay. Drinking is one of them, but we aggravate them because we're like, oh, we just started. You started by bringing in poker chips. We started gambling, selling poker chips in the store. It was like themed ones or whatever. And I was like, now we're selling alcohol. What's next? And just joking around with him. Boy, he gets fired up when we say that, But we've got that moral line we'll never cross. But it's funny. The melon no, I don't think I'll ever sell melon enhancement.
What about like marijuana and stuff, CBD or that stuff gets legalized?
I haven't really looked into that. I think that's probably a market that I won't ever be in, just because of, hey, I'm in the firearms industry. I'm already flirting a line that people like, how do you sell alcohol and that, right? So if I bring in something else, first of all, I don't know if an insurance company will ever carry me. That's already, hard enough. So if I started bringing anything else in, it'd have to be in a different market. And it's not something that fires me up. Do I have anything against marijuana? Probably not. I haven't really looked into the details of it on it. I think Oklahoma and everything's made it legal with the green belt and stuff like that. I know one guy, I probably shouldn't say his name. I won't. He's an investor in a big marijuana group out in Oklahoma. And I love this guy. He goes to church with me and all that stuff, and nothing wrong with it. But I haven't really looked in that market and don't know if that's something that feeds me. I'm the entertainment side of it, so I want to focus on that.
Yeah, gotcha. So where's Chase go from here? I mean, obviously, I know you've done a lot of successful things. Mm-hmm. You're heavy into real estate now. You're doing a bunch of real estate stuff. But how do you scale? Where do you see yourself 10 years from now?
So we've looked at what we've got and what would be the simplest but most profitable to duplicate. And the brewery definitely seems to be the side of it. But the key is with the entertainment side. So being able to have that stage and seat, I think it's going to come down to what the cost of the capital is to go, land, building, so forth. Not a big fan of being a tenant, not against it, but not a big fan of it. What's that look like on duplicating it and scaling it? There's a sweet spot. You got to hit it, right? We're profitable where we're at. We just got to see what that looks like in the future on it. And I say we're profitable where we're at. We put a bunch of investment in right now. We're still recouping that, but the numbers are going to be great. Mm-hmm. And so 2.0 is definitely going to be the brewery side of it growing. Bringing in the retail side, not so much. The arcade, I'll definitely bring with me. Most anywhere I'll go with it. Mm-hmm. But the real estate side, we're in Pigeon Forge, Sevierville, Tennessee right now, really focusing on that. It's a hot market. We love it. We love going there personally, so it's real nice that we get to go up there and enjoy a town that we love, that we've got some good friends that we met up there. We also get to develop and make some money up there too. And I tell people it's all about money. I think it's best put as everybody says, well, the love of money is the root of all evil. Well, a lot of people will say, well, money is the root of all evil. No, it's the love of it. But money is a tool. When I tell people this, Jesus came in on a donkey. Most people walk during that time. So if he was on a donkey, he was already using a financial way to make him get where he needed to go. I know these big people, they buy jets because they need to get somewhere. They need to save time. They need to save money. That donkey was Jesus' jet. Mm. He got to where he needed to. He shared it where he needed to go. He knew the plan of going there. So as long as we have a good plan of what we've got and where we're going to go, we'll get there in a way that fits the market that we have. I do think that I'm going to try something new and bring in investors with me for it for the future. Nothing I've never done before. It's a big step for me. I got to do a lot of soul searching to figure out who that right partner is. But I think that I'm more now focused on how can I bring other people in and we all benefit together, opposed to just trying to keep it all for me and the next generation. I got 2 kiddos. I want them to have a phenomenal life. I want them to have what I didn't have. My parents did that for me. I'm going to do it for my kiddos, and hopefully we build a generation. I call it a dynasty, right? Not an arrogant way dynasty. I want a dynasty that, hey, the Wells? Well, they've got this, this, and this. Well, why do they have all that? Well, it's because they gave back here, here, and here. Mm-hmm. And so that's a big thing for me.
Amen. Amen. Well, there you have it, folks. You heard it right there from Chase Wells, a super entrepreneur, a guy who's done amazing things for the community. Make sure you stop by the Freedom Mill. Freedom Mill Brew and Shine. It's phenomenal. Entertainment, all different kinds, from midget wrestling to comedians to just going there, throw an axe around, have a beer, shoot some guns. Sounds like a good day to me. Man, I appreciate you being here, Chase. Thanks again so much.
Thank you.
Okay, and as you know, as WamBam always tells you, if your life was a movie, would it be worth watching? If the answer is no, then stop being ordinary and start being extraordinary. I'm your boy WamBam. Stay positive and keep testing negative. Till next Wednesday, I'm out. This podcast was brought to you by Cost Plus Processing, the leader in merchant processing. Call 1-855-391-9190 and find out why they are the future in merchant processing.